Welcome to the Client Generation Podcast, a show where we interview some of the most successful people in real estate to help you understand how to generate leads, build a brand, and convert more clients in your business. I am so excited for our interview today. I have the one and only Mr. Marshall Sylver on, and I know based on following him for a long time, watching him speak in person, seeing how this man changes people's lives, that he's going to do the very same thing for you. So Marshall, thank you so much for coming by, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother, thanks so much for having me. I was just commenting, we both have very colorful backgrounds behind us.
Yes, we do. I'm digging yours. I like it.
I'm actually in the theater at my beach house down in Southern California.
Yeah, I was really admiring your house. I saw you speak live in person in Miami, and I was looking at the pictures of the houses. Like, hey, give me some of that Marshall Sylver lifestyle.
Yeah, no doubt. It doesn't suck. It's nice.
You jet it in, jet it out, and I love it, man. So
yeah, we did.
For anybody that may not be familiar with you, why don't you give us the Marshall Sylver story? Who are you? How'd you get to where you are today?
I was born a very poor child into a family that had 11 kids and a mom that was a working mom and no dad there. So I was raised pretty much by my brothers and sisters. The first house I lived in had no running water, had no electricity, had no phone. Often we had little, sometimes no food. Twice we were homeless. And so early on, I realized if I was to have a life at all of any kind of quality, I was going to have to get it for myself. So I started working full time at 10 years old. Although illegal back in the farming communities, they get away with it. I would crawl through the muck fields, which is the real rich black dirt that they grow like carrots and spinach in. And I would weed the carrots and the spinach by hand. And I would crawl for acres and acres and acres. And the reason that I wanted to work so much is I had a hobby when I was 7 as a magician. And the only way that I could buy real magic effects was to go work another job, buy the magic effects, and then go do my little magic shows around town and charge people $10, $15, $25. And so I've been on stage. This year is 50 years. And during the course of the time, around 23 years old, I transitioned from being a magician to being a hypnotist. And so for the past 34 years, I have been hypnotizing people. I've been on Late Night with David Letterman. I was on his show 6 times. I was on the Howard Stern show 6 times, Montel Williams 5 times, most televised hypnotist in history. And back in 1994, I had this clever idea. I was watching this infomercial with this big guy, big teeth. What's his name? Tony Robbins. And I saw Tony, and I saw that he was on a lot, so I knew the show was successful. And then there was this other show that was on way more, like 10 times more, and it was this woman named Dionne Warwick. And she had this TV show called The Psychic Friends Network, where for $3 a minute, you could call in and talk to a psychic and find out, where's your life going? Well, the research showed me Tony Robbins was doing $3 million a month in sales of personal power. And the other show, the Psychic Friends Network, was doing $30 million a month, $1 million a day of people calling up and saying, does he love me? And so I realized that there was a product right between those two products. And for $10,000 versus the $1 million per show that Tony was spending on his infomercial, for $10,000, I produced an infomercial. And in the first year, that show did $120 million in business. Gave me a chance to fulfill all my dreams. I moved from, I was living in San Diego at the time. I moved to Las Vegas, where I've had a main residence since 1994. We're right now at my beach house, which is on the coast of Southern California, a little place called Carlsbad, because I just bought a full-size theater here to put a big production show in, a couple of big production shows. And that's it. I've traveled all over the world. My works are published in multiple languages worldwide. I've done over $500 million in business since I started this process. And we love people. We love real estate professionals. The majority of my work is helping real estate professionals do 3 things. Number 1, turn up their wantingness. The distinction between somebody who just produces and somebody who produces at a big level always has to do with their hunger, always has to do with how, what do they want? I happen to love living in Vegas. My home there is 17,000 square feet, sits on an acre and a half, got a full tennis court, 125,000 gallon swimming pool. So we love Vegas, but it gets hot in Vegas. So I also like the beach. And I like the idea that when I leave Vegas and jump on the private jet, I can fly here and within 11 minutes of landing, be at my beach house. I didn't have to pack anything. We've got duplicate of everything everywhere. In fact, we have a minivan. I've got 3 young kids. I've got an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And we have matching minivans in each city so that we pull up to the jet, we park it there, We get on the jet, we come over to the other location, get out of the jet, get into the exact same vehicle, same configuration, and then we go off to the next house. So it's been a fun ride. And like I said, these days I help, number one, help people turn up the wantingness. Number two, help them get all the bad programs out of their head, all the doubt, all the things that they say, you know, couldn't possibly allow them to have what they want. And we show them how to reprogram certain success. You know, the distinction between someone that wins and someone that doesn't is their level of certainty. If I know that I'm going to sell somebody a house, or I'm going to make a great investment in a piece of real estate, then what happens is, even if there's bumps in the road, even if there's little hiccups, it doesn't slow me down. It's just, you know, that's just something that happened. I'm going to win. I'm going to be victorious. And then the third thing we do is the most important thing for anybody listening to this podcast. As a hypnotist, I have a very unfair advantage. I know how to get into people's minds. I know how to speak directly to their subconscious and cause them to want to buy from me and have them believe it was their idea.
And I've seen this in person. I hosted a VIP party in Miami. You walked right in, grabbed the entire room up, and I watched you, work your craft there, work your mastery there. I don't want to say magic.
I did some cold reading.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Cold read. I read body language and saved myself $4,000.
And I saw that. And then the next day I watched you convince somebody to come up on stage with you and swallow some fire, which was also fun.
Yeah.
So
and that woman had a lot of hair, so doubly impressive. She had big hair in Miami. Imagine that.
She did. She did. So when you say you help somebody first turn up their wantingness, what does that mean in practicality? What are we talking about there?
Yeah, my experience is that most people, you know, we're really motivated when we're young and we're going to do all these great things. And then we enter our 20s and we start getting knocked down, or maybe we got knocked down before that even. And every time a person gets knocked down, most people stand up a little bit slower and they start reducing what they think they can have in their life until, unfortunately, the majority of people at some point just decide, I just want to get by. I just want to pay my bills. Sure, I want a nice car. Sure, I want a nice house, but I don't need, you know, a 17,000 square foot palace. I don't need to fly around in private jets. I don't need that. I just want to get by. And the challenge with that is we get what we focus on. And also what we focus on expands. So if we focus on all of our losses, we'll think that we're losers. If we focus on everything that is not just possible in our life, that can be certain in our life, what happens is we start realizing whatever anybody else can do, we can do too. And when you start living life from that point of view, it's not can I, it's always how do I. If you want to fly privately, great. It's expensive, yes. Except the benefits to being able to drive up to the plane, get out of your car, not even have to park your car, get right on the plane, take off within minutes of getting to the plane, not getting to the airport 90 minutes early and having to slug through, you know, the security and all that. What happens is it's not how much does something cost, it's how much can it make us. And so the first thing I do is I turn up people's wantingness. Simultaneous to that, though, I also turn up their certainty level. Because if you turn up someone's wantingness and they're always wanting and they don't know how to savor the wanting as much as the having, you'll make a person disappointed, which is the reason most people turn down their wantingness. When you give them that certainty, though, it creates phenomenal balance so that they're able to go out into the world and start chipping away at the things that they want, get some momentum, get some velocity, and make things happen.
And so when you're creating this certainty, are you plugging people into basically, and I'm just trying to further understand it, vehicles? Maybe, you know, if I'm a realtor, is that my vehicle for creating certainty? Is my business that, or what can provide me that certainty? How do I create that in my own mind? You know, living through situations that maybe I'm not clear. I've got a lot of fear. I want all these things, but I don't see a path. Is people's businesses the vehicles for that, or what's the vehicle there?
It can be. One of my students recently said, you know, I need to disconnect from my business. I need to go just, you know, not be in it for a day. And I said, if you have a business you need to disconnect from, you're in the wrong business. And so what that comes back to is our vocation, our ability to make money, tends to be the majority of our lives, meaning the majority of our hours of our time spent. And so if you're involved in something, whatever it is, could be real estate, could be investing, it could be running a small business. If what you're doing is something you have to disconnect from, or you feel a sense that you want to disconnect from it, you're in the wrong business. You have got to figure out what it is you would do if you had billions of dollars and didn't have to work, because that thing that you would do then is the thing you need to spend most of your time on. And when you learn how to monetize that thing, all the better. I don't work at all. You know, you saw me at your party, the party you threw. I was having a blast. I was cold reading people. I was programming them at the same time. Something as subtle as a gesture in front of their face to make them think of the number 5, or using the word before to have them select the number 4. I was both cold reading and programming them. I have fun. I like that. You know, I have an 8-year-old son named Sterling Marshall Sylver, like his father, did a little more refined. I've got a son named Maximus Marshall Sylver. My wife's name is Erica. We've got a daughter named Prosperity Erica Sylver. And one of the things that I love is instilling certainty in them. And we'll be playing a game and my son will say something like, oh, I'm going to lose. And I'll say, until the last play is made, you don't know what's going to happen. Start with the belief, start with certainty, start with an expectation that you're going to win. And should you not win, you're going to have a lot of fun. And should you not win and have a lot of fun, you're going to learn something too. So until everything is done, have certainty. And even if you don't succeed in the beginning, have certainty you weren't supposed to then. You know, I was married twice before I met my one true wife. And although the first marriage was early in my life and we divorced rather quickly, the second marriage was later. And I was married 11 months. The divorce took 4.5 years. And it was an angst period. It was a tough period of my life. Yet, in retrospect, I realized I would never recognize what a goddess my wife is, how amazing she is. We would not get over things as fast as we do. I'm positive, had I not gone through that horrible experience in the relationship. You know, I was born poor and then I became rich and I made some dumb mistakes and I got poor again and then I became rich again and I married the wrong person and I got poor again and then I got rich again and the economy hurt a whole lot of people during the recession and I got fairly poor again. And when I got poor that last time, I'd already met and married my wife. And I realize now in retrospect, it was a good thing for us and for me, because when we met, I was loaded. I went through a rather lean period and she came to me and she said, look, we don't need 2 houses. We don't need 8 cars. We don't need to fly privately. Let's sell everything and just live in a 2-bedroom apartment with the boys. And it was in that moment that I realized even that experience was perfect. And finding our lives less than perfect is a waste of time. You got a hiccup, you got a bump in the road, you got a change of plans. I always ask myself, even though I don't want this, what could be good about this? How could this thing serve me? How could this help me be a better person? How could this show me how to serve other people better? And what is the lesson that my universe, God, frankly, is wanting me to learn here?
I love that. You know, perspective is such a beautiful thing, especially when you can look at things in both ways. Maybe the way that it was, or the way that some people felt like this happened to me, but then as well, like this happened for me. This is something that happened in my life that was meant to strengthen me or empower me or turn me into a stronger version of myself. I love the connection here where you made a lot of money, you went broke. You made a lot of money, you went broke. You made a lot of money, you went broke. It's a story that I can relate to. I made a lot of money. I was very young, went bankrupt when I was 23. Started making a lot of money again. And how do you create certainty in uncertain times?
I was flying in a private jet from San Diego to Vegas, and I was by myself. And so sometimes when I'm by myself on the jet, I'll sit up in the cockpit just to have somebody to talk to. And so I'm sitting there with the pilot, and he's been one of my pilots. We charter. He's been one of my pilots for a while. And he said, you know, Marshall, I just got to ask you something. I got another guy who's just like you. And I've seen him be rich, and I've seen him go broke, and I've seen him be rich again, and I've seen him go broke again. And I've seen you do that too. What does it feel like when you're broke? I said, I don't know that I've ever been broke. What it feels like is I'm between fortunes. That's all. And I know who I am. And that's the biggest question everybody has to ask themselves is, who was I on the day that I was born? Was I a poor person struggling to get rich? Or was I a rich person whose money had not yet been deposited in my bank account? And when you can understand, once again, it is perspective. It's frame of reference. It's a choice. And it's always a choice to have that kind of a frame. People that can consistently have a frame that says, no, I'm a winner. I don't care about the circumstances around me. I don't care how much evidence you give me. I'm a winner. And at the end of the day, no matter how many times you knock me down, guess what? I'm standing up one more time. You know, I have this belief, even in my darkest moments, that should we have an awesome day the day we die, we'll think we had an awesome life. And
Mm.
so it's that choice just to make today awesome. Like this podcast. I was very excited to get on and chat with you a bit. I love talking to positive people. I love talking to people that are moving and shaking and making things happen. And for me, it's just a matter of finding joy in things. You sit down and you have a meal. Maybe it's not exactly what you wanted to have. Find your life interesting, I say. Finding your life interesting makes everything a lot easier. I'm driving down the road in Vegas a few months back, and I'm in my Rolls Royce, and we're on a 3-lane street. There's 3 lanes going the same direction. This woman cuts across in front of me, in front of the Rolls Royce, almost slams right into the side of me. I brake just in time to have her not hit me, and she runs over a crowbar in the middle of the road, flips up from her tire, whacks on the hood of my Rolls Royce, crashes the windshield, doesn't break through it, but breaks it and cracks it, and the thing goes flying over my head. The woman is oblivious. She doesn't even know what she's done. She's just driving down the road, and frankly, she didn't really do anything. Cutting across wasn't that cool. But I'm looking at the windshield, and all I can think to myself is, thank you, God. Thank you that crowbar didn't come right through the windshield and hit me. Thank you, God, that it broke something, albeit expensive. It also is just a material thing, and ultimately, material things aren't going to matter. And so when you keep things in perspective, even when things like that occur, they're not nearly as bad.
That's just some powerful, powerful truth. I remember going back to points in my life where I had done really well financially, or what I felt like was well at the time, which now it's kind of funny, but I'd done really well, made a ton of horrible decisions. It went broke. And then what really turned things around for me wasn't money sitting in my bank account, because I had none. It was perspective. It was, hey, I can learn from every single situation in the last 3 to 5 years. And I can totally reframe my life, even though I don't have all the money in the world right now. I don't have any material possessions. I don't have the relationships I had. I don't have a lot of these other things. I know my value. I know I'm a winner. I know I'm a millionaire. And like you're talking about, is just in between prosperity, right? The money's not sitting in the bank account. I know that it's coming. And so that perspective.
And I think that I want to just interject, Grant. I think that it's important for people to understand it's fun to have money. It's certainly a lot more fun to have money than to not have money. Except even with that, this last time especially gave me a brilliant breakthrough in that don't be attached to either state. Don't be attached to being broke. Don't be attached to being rich. Whatever those circumstances are, my bride telling me, sell everything. All I care about is you, honey. There wasn't any before, but there was even less than none of a belief inside of me that she had just married me for my money. When she said that, when she said, honey, I just want to be with you. I don't care about all this stuff. I love you. I went, thank you, God, and started getting rich again. And there's so many things on subconscious levels that we do. You made a ton of money when you were young. You go BK in your early 20s. One of the things that people don't understand is BK is a business tool. That's what it is. Most major corporations at one point or another do a reorganization, and it's a strategy. The challenge is, though, the person that files for any kind of financial protection and then decides that's who they are and never steps back up to the plate, never swings again, and never says, no, I'm aiming for the bleachers right now. I'm resilient. I am a winner. I know who I am. I've never been fired from a job I wasn't ready to quit. I've never ultimately regretted any relationship that went south. They were supposed to go south. And like I said, when you start living long enough, your brain starts saying everything's happening perfectly. Finding it less than perfect is just a waste of my time.
I love it, man. I love it. So much good stuff coming out of here. And I really appreciate you coming on. You are one of the world's foremost experts on subconscious reprogramming. How do you reprogram the mind? This is the second thing that you said that you typically do. How do you reprogram somebody's mind?
I'm in my theater right now, and I'm on an iPhone. Do you have an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
An iPhone and an Android are similar, yet not exactly alike. And if you pick up a PC or an Android, and then you go over to a Mac product, while they're similar, they're not the same. So the first thing I've got to do is I've got to understand what hardware you're running. I need to know a little bit about your background, know a little bit about what makes you tick. You're from Canada, right? You live in Canada?
No, I'm in Arkansas.
Oh, lovely. Well, you seem like a Canadian. You're so dang nice.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
The thing about it is, I grew up in the country, and I grew up in a very rural area. And in rural areas, you have to count on your neighbors. It's a matter of survival sometimes. And so my experience has been, you start learning a little bit about a person. It's kind of like that cold reading. I'm doing the cold reading, and I may be programming the person behind the person that I'm talking to right now, because that person has their defenses down. It's kind of like a Gestalt process where I say, many years ago, I was talking to this guy, and I said to this guy, you need to take charge of your life. You want a bigger lifestyle. You deserve to have your own home. Even though I'm talking to this non-existent person beside me, I'm saying the words in first person, and you're hearing them in first person. So your brain, your subconscious mind doesn't think, oh, he's talking to that non-existent person there. You have zero resistance, and you experience that as if I'm talking directly to you with no resistance. And so how I reprogram people's minds is, number one, I begin with the end in mind. You tell me what's the outcome. And then all I've got to do is give you an emotional state that I can attach to that outcome. And then once you're attached emotionally, then what I've got to do is stack as much logic on top of that as I can without you giving me any resistance or defense.
Hmm. So I need to be open to the conversation that we're having. My subconscious mind is listening based on the way that you're talking and describing situations, and develop an outcome that I want, and then, emotionally become really emotionally evolved, and then just logically stack reasons as to why I need to accomplish those things. Is that right?
Not why, what?
What?
Why is a very bad, there's a big expression, find your why. No, find
Right.
your what, find your how. Let go of your why. Because your why is whining, and your why just won't get it done. If I say, one of my challenges was, there's this Buddhist curse, and the curse is, may all of your greatest desires be instantaneously fulfilled. And Grant, I have a notion that was you too. You had great success in your teen years, and because you thought the faucet's going to stay open forever, and that's just not the case. The faucet shut, and you realized you didn't have a stopper in the tub.
Mm.
And so the Buddhist curse of having all of your greatest desires be instantaneously fulfilled, I never understood what that was. I thought, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How could that possibly be a curse? Until I had it. My whole life, it's always been easy for me to make money. I have very deep programs, certainties that say I am a people and a money magnet. It's kind of like looking through the Matrix. In the Matrix, they saw the tubes and all the warships and all that. I see the money. It's really easy for me to see the money in anything. If I'm talking to a client and they have this business over here, and I say, yeah, you don't have that business over there. There's an ice cream parlor across from the theater that I own here in Carlsbad, and the theater seats 300 people. And the ice cream parlor you can't go inside to get your ice cream. You get it from a window on the outside. What that does is that creates lines outside in front of the ice cream place. If they were inside, you couldn't necessarily tell how many people were in there, because they're outside. There's lines around the block all day long. I said to that ice cream guy, I said, are you collecting data? He said, what do you mean? I said, are you collecting data? He said, for what? He said, I have lines around the block. I said, yeah, you have lines around the block. Why couldn't you have people at home that you're making ice cream cakes for, that you're making all this other stuff for? They're not even coming to you. You're now delivering these high-end, specially made products to them. You've got a whole other revenue stream. While you have lines around the block, I see the back part of your parlor doesn't have anything going on there. It's because all the ice cream is in the front. And he said, you know what? I should collect the data. I said, man, you're smart. And so my real forte is that ability to see through the matrix, see where the hidden money is. You take a realtor as a good example. And I know a lot of your listeners are in the real estate market. That's one of the biggest purchases anybody makes. I remember who sold me any of my residences that I bought. I don't necessarily remember who sold me any of the commercial properties. Every single residence I've ever bought, I know that person. I like that person. If somebody knows and likes somebody, then what you should do is figure out, okay, what other business can I give to them? What else can I provide for them? People look at Jeff Bezos now, and he's supposedly the richest person on the planet. That's not counting the hidden money. The thing, though, is that Bezos, what people don't know, lost billions and billions. That's with a B, like in Bezos, billions of dollars when he was a bookseller. And he claims now that it was the plan from the beginning. I don't believe him. kept reinventing himself and saying, okay, what can we do differently? When he started selling everything is when everything changed for him.
Mm.
Because not everybody reads books. Everybody wants something that's sold on Amazon.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And that's definitely a great perspective. Because you have a lot of people out there teaching, go be like Bezos or Bezos and lose money for years buying customers. And then when you have all
Dumb
the
plan, by the way. Yeah,
yeah,
dumb plan.
it's a very stupid plan. I mean, I've only heard it a couple of
Well,
times.
even if somebody is massively capitalized, it's just a dumb idea. Even we do a show called the Show of Certainty. It's a hypnotic show at the theater, and people pay to come to the show. The show, though, that's not where I stop. I collect their data. We have a lot of clever ways that we collect their data. It might be we're going to do a giveaway. Text your email address and your name to this short code, and one of you is going to be selected to win a great prize toward the end of the show. Then, though, we also invite those people to come back on another night to hear how I did everything I did on stage, from having people walk on broken glass, swallowing fire, speaking languages from other planets, all the cold reading stuff. And then they come back on another night, and I not only teach them how I did everything that I did, I also show them how they can apply it in every area of their lives, from their relationships to making money to emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual power and well-being. And then I invite them to come study further with me. And so, it's a matter of us asking, ourselves, what could I sell them? I should sell them something. What can I sell them? I've got eyeballs, I've got connections, I've got audience. What should I sell them? And yet so many people are so myopic. They just have, one train of thought of what they do. I sell real estate. That's what I do. Okay. What's the reason you haven't teamed up and have a title company too, and have a mortgage company and provide all those services that go into selling properties? What's the reason as a realtor, you're not also a real estate investor? Chances are you probably come across some really good deals from time to time. And if you're not educated as an investor, you're missing out on a much bigger piece of profit that you could have. And yet, once again, sometimes people get stuck. They say, no, I'm this or I'm that. And they're afraid to go out and learn something new because they think that reinvention is going to be just as hard as the first time. And the truth is, it isn't. It gets easier and easier and easier each time, because the first thing you've got to do is be certain. The second thing you got to do, though, is you got to fall in love with people. Everything that we want that we don't have, we are going to get from other people. And so we've got to genuinely love people. That's why I was so excited to be on this show. It was great meeting you in Miami. Mm-hmm. I know that communication equals wealth. And we communicate in two ways, and two ways only. We communicate internally, those 1,500 words per minute going through our brain, telling us who we are and who we aren't, what we can be, what we can do, what we can have. The other communication, though, is external communication. And external communication is influence. And our influence echoes. We get back what we send out. You saw me do something in Miami where I stepped into the audience and I introduced myself to a woman. I said, hi, my name's Marshall. And she said, hi, my name's Cindy. I said to the next man, I said, hi, my name is Marshall Sylver. And he said, my name is Sam Wilson. We get back what we send out. And if a lot of people say no to us a lot, it's because the way we communicate is fun to say no to. And if that's happening, you've got to figure out, how can I communicate in such a way that it is fun for people to say yes to me?
Do you find that when you're working with a lot of people in that stage, real estate is a great example of a lot of things right now. There's, a lot of, I don't want to say mindset problems, but there's some broken mindsets, some limited mindsets within the industry, within the real estate industry and within the sales industry. Do you find, or maybe how do you find that somebody starts saying yes more? Is it just a simple act? Because I get what you're saying. What you get, what you give is what you're going to get. If I'm saying no a lot, maybe to investing in myself, yep, or making purchases and making decisions, maybe I'm getting a lot of that back if I'm not honoring my commitments, showing up on appointments, or maybe I'm getting a lot of that back. How do you reprogram somebody, maybe when they're not feeling so hot, to start saying yes and to start making those types of decisions?
This is a good question. My son, Maximus Marshall Sylver, is 6 years old. And yesterday I was reprimanding him for something, and he's a good boy. They're amazing kids. My kids are awesome. And I reprimanded him, and I said, Max, would you like a hug? No. I said, sweetheart, you have to change your attitude. I don't know how to do that. I said, I can teach you how to change your attitude. Would you be open to it? No. I said, that's step one. Be open to it. Just be open to it. You don't have to, you can always go back and do gloom and doom, but be open to being happy and be certain it's possible. Because if we don't think it's possible, then we just give up altogether, whether it's selling a house or being happy. So I said, Max, first thing you do to get yourself happy are the things that you do when you're happy. First thing is realize inside your head you have a choice. It's always a choice to be joyful. It's always a choice to be kind. It's always a choice to be happy. I said, the second thing is, I know for a fact that when you're happy, you smile like this. I know there isn't a moment that you're happy that you're walking. You dance across the floor every single step you take. I've never seen anybody do it. It's adorable. It's wonderful. It makes me happy to see you do that. I said, but there's one more thing you do, Max, is that when you're happy, you walk up to me, and when you say hello to me, what do you say? I say, hello, best daddy ever. And then he kind of lit up a little bit. I said, that's exactly what you do. When you're happy, you always say, hello, I love you, best daddy ever. So could you just say the words, I love you, best daddy ever? I said, that's not how you say it when you're happy. Just fake it for a second. Just pretend. Do the best you can to make me believe you're happy. I love you, best daddy ever. Now he's smiling. I said, there's one more thing you do, Max. Whenever you walk past me, you're so cool, you're so hip, you go. You point your fingers and you go. I said, just do that for me. He starts grinning. Okay, daddy. I said, do you want a hug now? He said, yes, I do. And so it's, even though he's 6 years old, it's the same thing with realtors. You know, if your phone isn't ringing, pick it up. If you don't have the amount of business you want, you're responsible to go out and find that business. I have a mortgage broker in Las Vegas that is one of my inner circle students. In the inner circle program, we have seminars that range on the low end from $1,000 to the upper end, $50,000. And he is one of my inner circle students. And when he became an inner circle student, he was making about $250,000 a year doing loans, which isn't bad money. It's decent money. I couldn't live on that. At the same time, though, he's making $250,000 a year, and he invests $50,000 to be in my program. That's 20% of his income. And so he says, Marshall, I'm terrified. I said, I understand. Do it anyway. I said, the fact that you're only making $250,000 and that this is a tough decision is the first thing I'm going to get rid of for you altogether. We should never have to say, can I afford it? We should always say, I want it. How do I get it? Whatever it is. It could be an ice cream cone. It could be a private jet. I want that. Give ourselves permission first to want it. Sometimes the reason we don't get something is we don't give ourselves not only permission to want it, we don't give ourselves permission to realize me having a private jet or me having a house on the beach or a palace in the desert doesn't stop you from having everything you want too. In fact, it enhances you getting everything that you want through the velocity of my ability and willingness to spend money. The second thing I said to him, he came through the Inner Circle program, and I said, when I was doing private coaching with him, I said, number one, $250,000 a year is a small number. And anybody listening to this that's struggling right now, making $25,000 or $30,000 a year, I'm not spanking you. I'm here to inspire you. I just want you to keep things in perspective. There are people with less brains, less motivation, less willingness to work hard than you that are making a boatload more money with that simple distinction that they don't know that it's hard to make money. They think it's easy to make money. My children have been raised in a very affluent lifestyle, except they don't get things handed to them. If they want something, especially something major, they got to give value of some kind to somebody else to earn that money. One of the shows that's going into our Certainty Theater is a show called Kids Show. And it's a magic show by kids for kids of all ages, meaning for adults too. And it's a magic show of grand illusion. Whether one of them is floating the other one in the air or sawing the other one in half. The kids are doing the show, but the message of the show is you don't have to wait to be an adult to have your own business. You can have your own business now as a kid. Imagine if we as kids, and you probably grew up this way, which is why you did well in your teens. For me, I'm the only one out of the 11 kids that started working early on. And I started working early on because I wanted stuff we couldn't afford. I wanted magic props and I wanted stuff. And, for me, because I've done that my whole life, that's not work. That's life. And so I never beat myself up about it. I said, no, that's what's expected. I think the challenge is many people are raised by parents that give them everything, don't require them to do anything. And so then they become adults and they go, okay, who's going to give it to me now? Nobody. I owe you exactly what you owe me, and that is zero, nothing, zilch. And when we come from that perspective, what happens is that personal responsibility will carry us throughout our entire life. So any realtor right now who's maybe, and by the way, we both know this to be true, 80% of all realtors aren't really realtors. Maybe they do 1 or 2 transactions in a year. They got a business card that says realtor, but that's not a business. A business is out there hustling. A business is out there finding business. A business is out there asking the tough questions of, what do I personally need to change? You got another, I don't know, 10, 15% that are doing okay. Maybe they do 1 transaction every couple of months and they make $150,000 a year. And then you've got some people, 5% of the population, that crush it. Well, if they can crush it, so can you. And the question you got to ask is, what are they doing differently? I guarantee you they're more visible. I guarantee you they're spending money on advertising. I guarantee you they found some way to have a distinction. Like I said, I train a lot of people inside the real estate and real estate investing world. Mortgage brokers, title people, real estate investors, realtors. And I had a woman who was a realtor who invested in our $50,000 program. And when I was doing my private coaching with her, I said, what is your closing ratio? She said, what do you mean? I said, of the percentage of houses that you list, how many do you sell? She said, oh, 100%. I was asking her a dumb question. I said, wow, I've never heard anybody say that before. I said, what's your secret? She said, the secret is I get it listed at the right price from the beginning. I said, so your first sales job is with the owner, with the seller? She said, yes. I go in there, and if they're unreasonable, I say, I cannot take your home. It's not likely to sell for that. And I'm not going to take you on unless I can promise you that the house is going to be sold. I said, you used the word promise. Could you use the word guarantee? She said, what do you mean? I said, if you sell 100% of the houses that you list, if you came to me and you know, my $10 million home, and you said, Marshall, I guarantee you I can sell this house, and you figure out what the period of time is, 90 days, 120 days, I don't care. You tell me, I guarantee you I can sell your house in 90 days, or I will pay you the commission I would have earned. How can I lose? She said, you just need to let me tell you and show you the comps of what this house is worth. I said, then why don't you do that? Well, she did it. So in her marketing now, she says, your home sold guaranteed, or I pay you the commission I would have earned. That's an offer that you cannot refuse. If I really want to sell my house, that's the realtor I'm going to talk to first.
Absolutely. That's a very, very, very unique value proposition.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Marshall, I appreciate you so much taking the time. I know I'm a little over my time here, but thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us a little bit about, you know, these three really important topics: turning up people's wantingness, reprogramming the mind, and then explaining how you do some of those things. I got some incredible takeaways here for reprogramming, at least my mind, how I can stop in certain situations and really kind of rephrase things for myself, change my perspective, and continue to grow to the next level. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. And I know that anybody listening to this got some immense value from our conversation here. How can we pay you back? How can we follow you back? What's the number one way for, you know, any of my listeners here to connect back with you and maybe ask you more questions or connect with your team?
Three ways, actually. Way number one, my personal page on Facebook is Marshall Sylver. You don't want to go there. That's pictures of my kids. That's pictures of the beach. That's me with a margarita in my hand. But you want to go to the Marshall Sylver, and Sylver is spelled with a Y, 2 L's in Marshall, on Facebook. Follow me there. You can ask me questions there. I usually answer within 24 hours. You can also check out my websites, certaintytheater.com, give you an idea about what the shows are and what Certainty Theater is. Sylver, SYLVER.com, is my personal website, SYLVER.com. You can certainly message us through there. I've got a gift, though, and this is for some random people that have listened to this podcast, this webinar. The turning point that we've been talking about, the initial course, actually retails for $3,000 per person. I'd like to give some random 15 people who call up my office after listening to this and say, I listened on Grant Wise's podcast to Marshall Sylver, and he said he was going to give up to 15 random people. And once we're done, we're done. And my staff will just let you know we already gave all 15 away. 15 random people who contact my office at 1-800-92-POWER. 1-800-92-POWER. That's 927-6937. The first 15 people who call up that number and say, Grant sent me, I'm going to give that $3,000 Turning Point ticket totally free.
Oh, wow. That's an incredible value. I got to listen to you for a couple hours in Miami, and I heard all about that event and the success that people experience that, and the transformation that people experience at that event. So if you get a chance, well, not even if you get a chance, I know you have a chance, pick up the phone right now, call 1-800-92-POWER. We'll make sure we link that up in the show notes. Contact Marshall's office ASAP and take advantage of that. I'm going to hang up right now and I'm going to call 1-800-92-POWER and take advantage of that myself. So make sure that you guys do that. We appreciate you so much, Marshall. Thank you again for coming on the show. Cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Client Generation Podcast. Please make sure that you rate and review this episode so that we can continue to bring you more incredible guests to help you grow your business. Thanks, and have an amazing day.